These are my top 10 tips for homeschooling young kids. I am super new to the game and I know there's going to be a ton more I will learn about homeschooling, but so far I have learned quite a bit. When you get thrown into homeschooling, you are really learning on the job, even though it's great to have tips from other people, other families, and other homeschool families that'll help you out along the way. But I find that a lot of the time, it's just learning what works for your kids, learning what works for your family, and how to homeschool. So let's start with number 1. Tip number 1, remember why you are homeschooling. We all have different reasons why we start homeschooling. Some of us are more into the unschooling. Some of us would like things to be a little bit more formal and to the grade. No matter why you're doing it, sometimes it can be a bit challenging. And when you come into it, you have to remember your goals and your reasons for why you're doing it in the first place. For me, I find sometimes I can get so caught up in the work or what we have to do for the day that I lose my purpose, the reason why I came into it in the first place. I wanted homeschooling to be free and enjoyable and for my kids to really learn and enjoy learning. Sometimes I do the complete opposite. I get a little bit rigid. I'll lose my heart and enjoyment in teaching. You know those moments where you just get so frustrated? So it helps for me to remember every single day why I'm homeschooling from the very start. Don't forget your why. My tip number 2, don't be afraid of falling behind. Now I know it's different depending on where you're homeschooling. Here in Ontario, we have a lot of freedom, which is fantastic. Our kids, especially in elementary school, don't have to go by the regular public school grading system. Sometimes it's super easy to get caught up in the level or the grade that you think your kid should be at. But the beauty in homeschooling is being able to go at your kid's own pace. The whole point in education, the whole point in learning should be that your kid is retaining the information and enjoying it. I'm trying to continue to remind myself that if there's a subject my kid is excelling at, that's awesome. I can push him a little bit farther, see what he can do. But if he's falling behind in a different subject, let's say he can't spell that well, and he's behind for his overall age group, then that's okay. Take it a little bit slower. I find if you end up pushing your kid a little bit too hard in one subject and they're really not grasping it, but you're just trying to get the work done, trying to get them to memorize something, and just trying to get them through it, they're not going to retain the information and have that lifelong skill. You would also be so surprised at how fast kids pick things up when they're ready in their own time. Anyways, let's talk more about that later. Number 3, use whatever curriculum or method works for your child. So sometimes it can be super overwhelming because there are so many different curriculums out there. I will make another video talking about the curriculum that we use because we've experimented a little bit. But right now we use a curriculum that is fantastic and my kid has been thriving with so far. But every curriculum or method of teaching is different for every kid. You don't learn the same as everybody else. Everyone has different learning styles, and there are some curriculum that may just fit better with your child and maybe not with your next kid or maybe not with your friend's kid, and that's okay. You don't have to all do the same curriculum, which is awesome. Another benefit to homeschooling, use what works for you. If it's not working, don't feel like you have to continue. I know some people jump in and they spend a ton of money on one set of curriculum and it's not working. So you have this fear, oh my goodness, I just spent all this money on this curriculum. What am I going to do? I need to continue and just go through it. There are fantastic options where you can sell your curriculum online, find a Facebook group of families and just sell it, resell it. It is super easy. And who knows, if you have other children, hang on to it. Maybe it'll work with another kid. But don't be afraid to switch over. The worst thing is to get stuck in a curriculum that's not working for your child and then regret it later and have to start fresh with something that works a little bit better for them. If you have to use a different method of teaching, that is fantastic too. We're trying to stick with the same curriculum set if we have to for most subjects. I find it a lot easier and easier to progress. But just a good example is with my 5-year-old, trying to get him to, do his math on paper. Okay, add the 10s and then add the 1s and blah, blah, blah. And it took forever for him to get through. He could do it, but it wasn't enjoyable for him. And he's super young, and even though I knew he could do it, I had to find another way of teaching it. He did fantastic visually, like the majority of young kids do. So using the manipulatives was fantastic. So using any object, anything that you can take in your hands and they can see and work it out, rather than just writing it on paper, with the numbers. Once we had the manipulatives and the objects in his hands and he could count it, he skyrocketed through it, beyond what they were trying to teach in the book. So if you have to use another method to teach it, go for it. The whole point is for them to learn, retain, and enjoy what they're learning. Who cares how they learned it? If they learned it, they learned it. Tip number 4, form a routine your child can expect. This is a lifesaver. Even though everybody told me, make a routine for your kid. Children need a routine. You need a routine. I didn't listen. From the beginning, I found it so hard to make any sort of routine with my kids. My life can be a bit chaotic sometimes. So I started learning the hard way, but through homeschooling, I learned how important this is. I found that if we got up in the morning and schooling kind of fell somewhere within the day, nothing would really get done. There'd be tons of arguing. It just would not happen. So we formed a routine. Get up in the morning, have your breakfast, and then he expects school is going to be right after breakfast time. In the beginning, it was a bit of a struggle. There was some negotiating. It took a little while. But he started expecting it. Okay, school happens at this time, and if you do not budge, there will be no arguing. I shouldn't say there will be no arguing. They're always going to argue for the rest of their lives. But there will be a lot less arguing. Form a routine. It helps so much. Okay, tip number 5. If you have more than one child, distract the other children. For us, interruptions throw everything off. I think most kids, most adults, need to focus on what they're doing, and any interruption just throws them right off, especially for kids. So I make sure that my youngest ones have something to do. They're playing, they're watching a movie, they're doing something that keeps them totally preoccupied, so they're not going to interrupt us while we're doing our work. This is still a struggle for me, so if you have more than one kid, please give me advice on this. Or if you are homeschooling more than one kid, please give me some advice on this too. Number 6, stay organized and have all your materials out and ready before you start schooling. Why have all these tips taken me so long to learn? I don't know, but at least I can share them with you now. So this one took forever. I always had my materials stuffed away somewhere. I kept them fairly organized, which is fantastic because you don't want stuff all over the place and you can't find anything. Not that the other kids are going to grab everything and throw it all over the place anyway. But having my books and his work that he needs to do out before he sits down is very helpful. You don't want your kid sitting there watching you pull everything out and then they become bored or distracted and school's done. Number 7. Kind of talked about this a little bit. If they're not grasping a topic, find another means to teach it or wait. So when my kids were first learning addition, just super simple addition, 1 plus 1, adding ones to numbers, they found it really hard doing it on paper, just writing it down, seeing the numbers. They found it a little bit more difficult. So what I did with my kids one day is I took them outside and I kind of had an aha moment. And I don't know what I used. I used like dead bugs and leaves or something. I don't know. And I would put something on the rock here, like 5 ladybugs, and then I made an addition sign with 2 little pieces of grass, and then I would put something else beside it. I don't know what it was. And then made a little equal sign. And they added them up together and they loved it. They had so much fun. And I honestly think that's what started them enjoying math and doing addition. And then once they saw that, once they had fun doing that, it was like, oh, this is how you do it. This is how it works. It was amazing. So I think the key is to use something that they really enjoy. Use something that would make it fun for them, or use a topic that they really enjoy to try and teach the subject. Somehow add it into everyday life. So even something like spelling or reading. If you're running around the mall one day, get them to spell something on the door. If they want to go into the play place, they have to read the name of the play place or the times that they're open. I don't know, something like that. Everyday life. Just use everyday life for learning. And if they are really, really not grasping a topic, just wait and come back to it. And there are moments when they're just ready for certain subjects or just ready to learn something new. So wait on them. If they're hating math right now, take a month break and then jump right back into where you left off and see what happens. Tip number 8. Hook up with other families. In the beginning of homeschooling, we didn't have a lot of other friends who homeschooled. It has been so helpful for support, for advice, for exchanging curriculum and learning about how to use different curriculums. It's just been amazing. You'll meet families who have been doing it, you know, for decades with their kids, or they've been homeschooled. You'll learn about how to homeschool through all elementary school, through high school. What do you do when college, university comes? How to homeschool in your state, your province. There's a lot you can learn just by going online and Googling, but I find it fantastic to have those people in your life that you can just be free to ask any question. And it's so much easier when the person has actually gone through it themselves. What are you doing? Don't open it. Don't open it. I'm taking a video.
But I can't.
You can't come in. You can come in after. Give me a little bit. Just give me a couple seconds. I'm almost done. Child. Okay, what was I talking about? Oh, hooking up with families, homeschool families, hooking up with homeschool families. Okay. You hear my child eating veggie sticks in the background. There's a tip. Buy lots of bags of veggie sticks. Bribing is key. So, other advantages of hooking up with other families. You'll make new friends. Your kids will make new friends. You can go on field trips together. You can have play dates. You can exchange curriculum and sell your curriculum. There's just so many benefits. So if you can meet other homeschoolers, whether it's through your local library, some local libraries have homeschool groups, or just Google homeschool groups in your area. Get on some sort of social media platform. Facebook is great. They have great homeschool groups. You connect with other people. Okay, tip number 9 is get creative. Get creative. Kind of already talked about this. Just using other teaching methods, other things you can use to teach the subject that you're trying to teach. You could do anything with this. Why are you so loud? You could use any way. Okay, what could you do? What are some ways that you can get creative? Okay, guys, if you have some ideas on ways you can get creative, please comment below. I think I need more ideas. Okay, let's skip number 9. Okay, tip number 10. This, I think, is the biggest one. Never lose the fun in learning. Never lose the fun in teaching. If your kid enjoys what they are learning, they are going to retain it. I think learning and education throughout life should be enjoyable. I mean, of course, there are going to be some things that you have to learn that you do not like. Some subjects that you're going to need throughout life. Sometimes your career might suck. There are parts of learning that will never be enjoyable. There are parts of life that will never be enjoyable. And that's okay. That's normal. So don't worry about going through that with your kids. I think that is important to learn too. But the majority of what they're learning, I think, really should be enjoyable. And there's so many ways to do that. Find subjects that they're passionate about. Find subjects that they love, that their hearts are in. And nurture that, even when they're young, especially when they're young. Other things you can do to make sure that schooling is enjoyable is go on field trips. Go on a field trip every single day if you want to. You can do that. Wasn't that the best part of going to school, was getting to go on a field trip? That was the best part of school. And I'm pretty sure I learned everything from school just by going on field trips. That's all I can remember. Go to local spots in your community. Go to the library. Go to museums. Go to parks. Go to conservation areas. Go to, I don't know, somewhere fun. Use topics that they love. So for us, I found my son fell in love super early with the human body. I don't know why. Anything to do with blood and bones and how eyes work. He can tell you how many cones and rods you have in your eye, and what are cones and rods. So we take him out to places where he'll learn about the human body. And then, you know, I can buy him books on the human body, and he can start learning about the sciences and biology. You gotta pee. Okay. Anyways, that's all I've got for now. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more to come. If you guys have any tips and advice, or if you want to connect and help me out as a homeschool mom, please connect, comment below, and please subscribe and like the video and share if you can. I hope you enjoyed the video, and there'll be much more to come, so keep up to date with me. Mwah. Yell bye!
No.
Say, I love homeschooling!
No.
Say, Mommy's the best ever!
No.
You say nothing?
No.
Say, I love veggie sticks.
No, I love french fries the best.
You love french fries the best. Okay, me too. Is there anything else you want to say?
Veggie sticks and cookies and marshmallows and olive cheese and small pop.
You would think that I only feed you junk.